Hey everybody, my name is Joe Randazzo, product manager for the Authorization Group, here to talk about a couple surveys we sent out regarding permissions. Two surveys we sent out specifically was by the UX research team, particularly using Qualtrics. The general themes or questions that we asked were what is expected of managing permissions, to that user, and then also how do they manage permissions in their organization's applications. The other part was which grouping of permissions are most configured. Do they need to configure repositories, project planning, registries, and so on? The other survey that we sent out was directly to customers. We gave them a matrix, essentially was a CRUD-like structure of different groupings, so repositories, project planning, so on, allowing them to select which permissions they would like to configure for users. And then also a qualitative part to figure out why they would have selected those, like why would they select write versus read, and so on. A couple highlights and signals that we pulled from this survey. First one being users expect to be able to add and remove permissions for their custom roles. Not a surprise here, but this is important to note as our current system only adds permissions and doesn't be able to remove them, which is not favorable in this case from our survey. Third point here is RBAC is a clear choice for managing access. It's very important for ability to create custom roles with specific permissions. So sounds like we're on the right path on creating custom roles, but it's good to know that. And a CRUD-like structure is expected for permission management. So customers expect something predictable to understand those groupings of what those permissions are. Also, user groups will make permission management easier. Not a surprise here if you're picking a group of users and assigning the role to that user group makes things easier rather than going one by one for each user. The other part here is what are the most configured categories for permissions? System access of things like groups and project settings, repository, registry, project planning, and security compliance. And then there's also a couple qualitative notes there, but one called out was granular permissions for the CI tokens that are short-lived. Today, CI tokens are pinned to the user permissions. They are ephemeral to the job, but they're not granular. So that was an important call out there. I won't go through each of these slides. I'll let you go through that if you'd like, but feel free. The issues and sources are linked to here. Did want to call out again, I mentioned that we created a build your own role survey where we allowed the users to create their own permission as if they were creating a custom role. So things that were configured commonly were project planning, repository packages, general CI/CD settings. In this case, we outlined a CRUD structure, manage, write, view, and delete. We allowed them to select which ones, and then we got notes back on why they might choose manage versus write and view and so on. So a couple points there. And then if you want to dig into some of the qualitative points, there's some interesting points here to read about. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out in our Slack channel. Thanks for listening.